So I am doing air suspension all the way around on a 58 Cadillac Coupe Deville using Murray's custom rods kit. I want to show you guys kind of a few tricks, tips, things to make things a little bit easier for you when it comes to assembly time on this guy. The instructions were a little bit rough and kind of pieced together, so I want to give you a few pointers that will make this much easier for you when you go to install this. So number one, of course, getting the spindles and everything out. Take your front drums off, get all that out of the way. I'm putting disc brakes up front on this car anyway, so that stuff was coming out. Disconnect the sway bar link up here, and you'll want to unbolt these two. Now, when you unbolt these two bolts down here that come through, these come through the backing plate from the other side. You're going to want to put a jack underneath this thing to support that arm, because these bolts have a ton of tension on them from the spring that is factory installed. And you want to take those bolts out of there and then let that jack down slowly until you get pressure off of this thing. You need to be about a foot off the ground to be able to get those springs out of the way. So I just have some basic jack stands I'm underneath the car, and holding that stuff in place. Once you get that spring down and out of the way, the first thing you want to get mounted up is this lower bag plate. So this thing just bolts into place. You do have to drill 4 holes into the control arms to make this work a little bit for you. Easy, everything fits in really nice. It slides right in place. Pay attention front to back, or I should say how you place that plate. Make sure that that plate lines up right, because you can get that thing off-centered as far as front to back goes. They are kind of a little bit directional, and you'll see what I mean when you lay it in there. It just won't quite fit right. So once you get that in place and that control arm's down and out of the way, and you've got an open pocket and everything else, the spring is out of the way, there is a small little bolt that's up here, not a bolt, like kind of like a shim that they use from the factory. You're going to want to pop that shim out of there so you can get this all thread in there. Now, the all thread that they provided was not long enough. I ended up going and getting my own. I used 7.5 inches of length of all thread to make this work. You want to leave those upper bag springs, or upper spring perches in place. That bag cup will just sit right up against there, and then you'll run the all thread down through, and have the all thread already in the bag and run it up through there, and then run your bolt down on tight. But before you do that, and this is something that I ended up realizing after I put the bag in place, you do not have access to these rear shock mounts once the bag is in there. I ended up having to take everything back apart again, drop it down out of there, get the bag out, get everything else unbolted once more, and get those bolts in place. The bolts they provide you are 3/4 of an inch long. I went with 1.25 grade 8 hardware. The upper frame section of this car is thicker than the lower frame section of the car in these things. So this bolt here, if you use the 3/4, you're going to find out it won't even fit in there. So do yourself a favor, get 6.25 bolts right away before you start this job. Now I'm going to go underneath this real quick and kind of show you something else too. A nice little simple trick I learned. So hopefully we can get some light in here. Let's go from the underside here. Sorry for the view here. We'll see if I can show this or not. So you're going to see my airbag line coming in here. There is actually a hole already in the frame on the back side that you were able to get that line fed right through. And once you get that fed through there, see right there, all you need to do is drill about a 3/4 inch hole on one side of it. Do yourself a favor, put some sort of a grommet in place, which I did put a grommet in there just to keep the line safe, because there's plenty of room in there. It shouldn't move around or anything like that, but I don't want it to rub and be an inconvenience for me whenever I get to it. But you can access, once that bag, the spring is out of the way, you can actually take and drill in, aiming toward the back with a drill bit, and you will be able to make a perfect hole there. And you'll want to make that so that the airline fitting on your bag is facing towards the back of the car, and that plays a big role in when you mount this to the bag mount assembly, because the bag mount assembly, there are 3 bolt hole locations in that thing, and you're actually going to use the furthest out bolt hole to make this bag seat in there correctly. What I found to be easiest is to put that bag mount, the lower bag mount, in place first, the lower bag bolt in place first, and then come up top and tighten this up the rest of the way. Once that's tightened up, then you can make sure you got good enough clearance. I do see some guys, they like to cut this section of the bag out, or this section of the frame. Again, I'm kind of anti-frame cutting. This thing will, I'm certain, will clear and lay down low enough. I'm not looking to put this thing on the ground too often, but it will be much lower than it is now. So hopefully that helps a couple of you guys out when you're doing this job. And if you have questions, drop a line and I'll try and help you out as much as I can. I will do a video of the back end here shortly once I get that thing ready to go and the arms arrive. I got the wrong set of arms. I got a arm set for a 59 instead of a 58 by accident. I am working on a 59 as well. I will do a video of that one. That is a little bit different as well in the back end, but not a whole lot. It's just the length of the arms is the only difference back there. Front bags and everything on a 59 are the same way. This will all, 59 I believe even through 61, all does the similar frame. Again, any questions? Feel free, shoot me a message. I will help out as much as I can.